That's it. That's all. The series is over. The Oilers get it done in 5, defeating the LA Kings 4-3 tonight. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Oil Street Postgame Show, live on location at Hudson's Bourbon Street. Of course, the Oil Street Postgame Show brought to you by GCL Diesel, Edmonton's diesel fuel system specialists and providers of critical engine components. For over 50 years, the Oil moving on to the second round. They do it in a neat, orderly fashion. 5 games, bada bing, bada boom. Here we go. Text us 780-218-9999 or get into the nasty chat if you're watching on our EST YouTube channel. Hit the thumbs up on your way in, please, and thank you. Let me know your thoughts on the series, on the game, who stood out to you. I want to hear from you, whether it is the text line or the nasty chat. Let's go, Oil Country. They are on to round number 2, awaiting the winner of the Predators Canucks series. Game 6 goes on Friday in that one back in Nashville after the Preds hold off for a 2-1 victory last night. Penner's Pancake says, Tommy is half lit. That's awesome. What do you mean? No, I'm not. I'm having a nice tea. Here we go. I know a lot of people in Edmonton and in Oil Country are probably well into it after that 8:20 puck drop, but let's go as Edmonton clinches the series 4-1 with a 4-3 victory. Matt Cassian will be stopping by shortly to break things down for us, and YouTube Trev holding things down back at EST HQ on the city's west end. Let's get into the scoring summary from this one. In the first, 10-17 in, Evander Kane collects his second of the postseason from Brett Kulak and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Nice delay from Kulak to feed Kane. A little backhand, shovels it towards the net. David Riddick, terrible goal to let in, and it's 1-0 Edmonton. And then late in the first period, 28 seconds left on the clock, Alex Laferriere, Johnny on the spot, the fortuitous bounce off the Gavrikov dump in, kicks off the stanchion, empty net for Laferriere. He tucks it home, and it's 1-1. Matt Roy picking up the second assist. Second period now, Blake Lizotte gives the Kings the lead, 3:08 in. His first of the playoffs from Victor Arvidsson and Andreas Englund. Bad pinch. I think it was Darnell Nurse with the bad pinch up at the blue line, and it leads to Lizotte getting a 2-on-1, and he snips one home past Stuart Skinner, blocker side, 2-1 Kings, but the Oilers would bounce back just over 4 minutes later. Leon Draisaitl on the power play, his 4th of the playoffs from McDavid and Bouchard to even things up at 2. Draisaitl picks up another one at 12:21, his 5th of the postseason, 2nd of the night, 3-2 Oilers. McDavid and Bouchard the assists, that one coming at the conclusion of a Kings penalty. And then the Oilers would add to the lead. Zach Hyman, his 7th, also at the very end of a Kings penalty. It wasn't a power play marker. Hyman tucking home a redirection off of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Redirection, Bouchard shot. It was going in, but Hyman bangs it home to make sure. 4-2 Oilers at 19:07 in the third period. Edmonton looking to lock it down. They do a pretty good job until 17:42. Adrian Kempe with the redirection in the slot. His 4th of the playoffs from Matt Roy and Kevin Fiala. That is as close as the Kings would get. The Oil take it 4-3 and advance to round number 2 of the Stanley Cup playoff. Shots on goal, 26-21 in favor of Edmonton. Faceoffs, 41.4% to 58.6 in favor of LA. Edmonton's power play 1 for 5 tonight. Again, 2 goals coming just as penalties expired to the Kings. And then the PK stays perfect in this series, going 1 for 1. Edmonton very good with the discipline tonight. That you can give them credit for indeed. Hits 57-27 in favor of the Kings. Block shots 22 for Edmonton to 12 for LA. 9 giveaways officially for the Oilers to 4 for the Kings. And then takeaways 13 for Edmonton to 2 for LA. The thing that matters is 4 for Edmonton, 3 for the Kings, and 4 wins for Edmonton to 1 for LA. And the Oilers now get some rest. They can recoup. They don't have to go back to LA to face the Kings in game number 6, and they can enjoy the spoils of victory, at least for a night, as will the city. All right, get those texts in, 780-218-9999. Nasty chat, keep doing your thing. People are very excited about this win in Game 5. Let's go into the text line. Matty Cassian will be joining us in a couple of minutes here. Lebanon Don says, Trevor Moore, like Trevor no more. That's from the Lebanon Don. Jeff in YYZ says, play La Bamba, baby. This one from Jimbo says, nothing like watching the handshakes with a logger. LFG.
Skill issue.
Wrong button there. There we go. I got it figured out. LFG from Jimbo. He's got a 6 o'clocker logger ready to go. Shaggy and St. Albert with the breakdown. At the start of this series, Shaggy and St. Albert had these words for the Oilers: put up or shut up. And the Oilers certainly put up indeed. Shaggy says, did not show the killer instinct I was hoping for at beginning of game. Their usual slow start. That fluke goal by Kings at the end of the period was karma for low energy start. Got lucky in the second with some of those penalty calls going their way. Impressed by very good defensive play for most of third. Went by quickly. Oilers being Oilers had to make interesting at the end. Now we wait for winner of Canucks Predators. Back to clean slate. 0 wins. Winning first round means nothing. Keep your eye on the prize. Ooh, Shaggy in St. Albert. Harsh. Let us know your thoughts. 780-218-9999. Let's get Matt Cassian on here, our game analyst, as the Oilers win it in game number 5. Hello, Cass. It is done. The handshakes have been completed. They played La Bamba, and Edmonton is off to round number 2. What were some of your key takeaways from Edmonton's victory tonight?
A good friend and a huge fan of the show, I would say. Dustin Nielsen says all the bets cashed. So
wow,
maybe that's a big takeaway, whatever that means. I don't know what that means, but apparently it means something. And people are pretty excited about it in the nasty
Making
chat.
People money.
Yeah. What are my big takeaways? My big takeaways are that even when things don't go well, this team can stick with it. And we saw that during the regular season, but I think we saw it again today. They get a little bit of help from the refs. I mean, we can't say that those were all the perfect calls. We complain about the officiating all the time. It helped the Oilers today, to be frank, a little bit, I think. But Tommy, they just stuck with it. That's really what it was. They stuck with it. I think the LA Kings play a very difficult system to play against. The Oilers just grinded it out. Wasn't always pretty, Tommy, but they're just kind of like, well, we're gonna do what we have to do, and they just went out there, put the boots on, and got to it. And in the end, they get it done. And in the end, Tommy, their special teams won them this series.
Yeah.
Both sides. Penalty killing did a tremendous job. Power play did a tremendous job. That's what wins in the series. That's what set them apart.
Not to be pessimistic or anything like that, but because the special teams was such a difference maker for the Oilers, and good on the PK for being perfect in this series. Mm-hmm. I didn't think they had a chance of being perfect. If you told me they were going to go, 11 or 12 for 12 on the PK, I would be like, nah, more like maybe they allowed 2 or 3, but no, they were absolutely perfect on the PK. But 5-on-5, like, would you go, well, they should be better at 5-on-5, or do you look at the Kings and go, you know what, listen, that's a stingy team to play against 5-on-5. Edmonton had to work for whatever they got, even strength. Yeah,
that was one of the most stringy defenses all year in the NHL. The LA Kings had they stifled teams. And we have to look at that because I think they finished, was it second in goals against or third?
I'll look it up.
You can pull that up and I'll keep talking.
Yeah.
They were among the leaders regardless. And that's with them having like a horrible stretch of games where they really struggled and they lost a ton of games. I can't remember how many in a row, but they went through that brutal stretch right as the Oilers were playing really well. They kind of flipped at the same time where Edmonton started playing well, LA started playing poorly. So there was a period of time there too where they weren't very good. So Tommy, where did they finish? Goals against?
Third best in the NHL.
And second best PK.
2.56 goals against per game.
Yeah.
You're right, Cass. It was technically second because Winnipeg and Florida tied at first at 2.41 goals against per game. And they did have the second best PK in the NHL this year.
Yeah. So again, when I look at that, and that's with LA having a chunk of games where they just absolutely struggled. So I look at that and I go, this is a tough team to play against 5-on-5. They do a really good job. They stifle teams. Now they don't score a ton of goals, either. And we saw that as evidenced by the LA Kings, where it's not like they were, threatening all the time, but they're a tough team to play against. And so I don't worry about Edmonton in other series, because I think Edmonton will adapt, and they do adapt. And going into this one, knowing that they were going to have to play more patient, play such a stingy team where the opportunities were going to be fewer and farther between, knowing that the power plays were going to be where they could make a big difference because they can generate, LA has 4 guys in the ice. They can't play 1-3-1 through the neutral zone.
Right.
That's what the game plan was play him even 5-on-5, kill him on the power play. That's what the game plan was, and they executed it perfectly. Now, if we look at either Nashville or Vancouver, very different teams to play against. Now, Nashville maybe more stingy than Vancouver on the defensive side of the puck in some ways. In other ways, both those teams too, they forecheck hard, they pressure hard, but they don't play that same frustrating 1-3-1 style. And I think Edmonton has an easier time generating 5-on-5 in those series than against LA. Sorry, that's me rambling on for a long time, but it's interesting.
No, it is interesting. Well said, Cass. Just for those that I'm sure most people caught it, but the Dallas Stars defeat the Vegas Golden Knights for a 3rd consecutive game, and now have the Golden Knights, the defending Stanley Cup champs, on the ropes heading into Game 6. 3-2 Dallas wins it at home. That series going back to Vegas, where the Stars have won both games thus far. Hockey karma? I don't know. I'm just saying, but it's going to be a very interesting couple of days here in the Western Conference and the teams that do remain. All right, let's dip it to the inbox, 780-218-9999. You can text us, and then Nasty Chat. I took a peek over there. It was humming along nicely. A lot of people enjoying the show. Text us, and then get into the Nasty Chat. Behave out there. I know people are fired up. The Oilers clinching the series against the Kings and moving on to round number 2 for a 3rd straight year. Mark the Sparky texting in says, Los Angeles Kings? More like Los Angeles Kings. Oh, Mark the Sparky. Zinger. Got him. Calgary Glenn says, we're moving on to round 2. Key to the series, power play and PK stellar. Team defense was amazing. Solid stew. Our big boys came to play for 6 o'clocker loggers down. 12 more to go. Calgary Glenn, I love the graphic. Very nicely done, sir. KL says, special teams was the difference in this series, boys. Absolute clinic. Another lockdown 3rd, protecting the lead by clogging the neutral zone, dumping it in. Loving the change in mindset these playoffs. They have a different aura around them where the W is all that matters. Desharnais with another great game. His price tag going up every round. LFG, round 2, baby. Play La Bamba, baby. KL. JB says, okay. Cass, get ready for this one, all right?
Okay, I'm ready.
Here we go. JB says, I've got some things to take care of, but you guys have a great show tonight. Some thoughts. 1, great test for the Oilers in bending but not breaking. The first Kings goal was such a bad bounce so late in the period. Also, the team played well after a fantastic tip by Kempe to pull to within 1. Ryan, without a stick, made things more exciting than was necessary, but it was a great hit to help win a battle along the boards. 2, loved watching Ekholm and Arvidsson battle. I get a feeling that if they are friends from their Predator days, to play less than 100% against each other would be an insult. 3, Kings are well built. If they can get a goalie, Byfield is ready to become a pillar of the organization. Spence really impressed me, and they still have excellent young depth to continue building with. 4, on ESPN, the play-by-play announcer mentioned that the adjustments Knoblauch was making in the series really helped make things difficult for the Kings. I don't have the eye to really argue against it, and I would love for it to be true, but I'm curious what your thoughts would be on it. Again, have a great show, JB. So, JB with the first 3, like just things he liked and noticed. But number 4, ESPN talking about adjustments that Chris Knoblauch made. What did you notice, if anything, Cass, throughout this series, the subtle things that Knoblauch may have done?
Well, the subtle things, I think, for the most part, were on the power play. Like, they kept running a few different sets. Now it's from
Glenn Gulutzan.
And that's Gulutzan. And that's from the same, they all start with the same formation. But as we talked about earlier in this series, they started running some plays they didn't run during the year. Now, they probably kept those in their back pocket, knowing at some point you're going to hit the playoffs, and then you're going to pull them out. And against a typically good penalty-killing team like LA, perfect time to do it. So that was one adjustment. I don't know necessarily if it was adjustment. I think the game plan going in was a solid one, which was try to generate speed through the neutral zone, try to generate support through the neutral zone.
Right.
And then, the big thing against a team like LA that just sits back and sits back and sits back is just don't give them any freebies.
Right.
And for the most part, they didn't, Like the goal off the stanchion, unfortunate. Skinner probably should have stayed in the net. It was towards the end of the period. Like, probably should have stayed in the net.
Such a
I know. That's
bounce.
nitpicky. That's nitpicky. Trade him right now.
Dennis Bernstein came out to me in the intermission. And he's like, "Who's getting fired from the rink crew?" I jokingly said the entire rink crew.
No, like it's just an unfortunate bounce.
It was.
But if you look at some of the goals in the series, like Kempe, a couple really nice tips. Yes. I know game 2, people were freaking out and ready to, send Stuart Skinner to Bakersfield for the rest of the playoffs. But it was, again, I still think I think it was Arvidsson that had the one shot from the wall?
That was Fiala.
Or Fiala, sorry, the Fiala, where I still think that got tipped. I know people disagree with me, but it's like the LA had to work for most of their goals. Edmonton did a good job of executing. And outside of game number 2, I thought Edmonton, for the most part, not all the time, but for the most part, they did a really good job through the neutral zone of not turning the puck over. Now, there were times when there was just nothing there, and you're just kind of flipping it in, and you're probably not going to score when that happens, but they did a good job of keeping LA from being in a transitional possession, attacking with speed when you're moving the wrong way, when you're trying to go towards their net and all of a sudden LA's flying back towards you. So I don't know if that's necessarily a big adjustment. I guess the one adjustment they did make, and it was in neutral zone, was a little bit on the regroup where they moved to having 2 players swing low. And I drew that out for you a little bit in game 3 at the game, where they basically were trying to have, I'll call it F1. So the first guy through to set a little bit of a pick, basically just to take a lane to make the LA players not able to collapse to the wall to pinch a player off at the red line as much as they typically like to do. And sometimes it worked. You're not always in a full set position. But I just think if we're going to look at, I don't think it's necessarily adjustments. The Golitzin, I will say, adjustments on the power play, keeping that fresh was one. But they just executed. They executed their game plan. And the thing about a 1-3-1, I don't want to say it's like a one-trick pony, but it's kind of like a one-trick pony, like where you sit back and it's like, okay, you generate, or you're trying to generate almost all of your offense off of turnovers. Right. And Edmonton, aside from game 2, didn't really give that to them.
780-218-9999. Text us your thoughts on the series, on the game, what you figure going forward for the Oilers as they move on to the second round, defeating the Kings in game number 5 by a score of 4-3. Tom Gazzola live on location at Hudson's Bourbon Street at West Edmonton Mall. Matty Cassian and YouTube Trev along for the ride as we break it all down. Casa, a couple of texts here. McLovin says Oilers need to be more physical. They need to make space, not look for it in the next round. That's going to be dictated by the opponent, though. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, probably. Was it Edmonton not being physical, or is LA just a really physical team that tries to hit you and that knows they have to slow Edmonton down? Like, I don't think Edmonton wasn't physical. Like they laid the body, and it wasn't, purely volume standpoint. It's not like they had 8 million hits, but some of the hits counted. Like if we look back, and I know we talked about this, and I've talked about it a couple times. If we look at Doughty's playoff series, who is like one of the keys for the LA Kings, Edmonton was hard on Drew Doughty. Like they finished a lot of big hits on him. Now it wasn't, again, volume. It's not like it's 8,000 of them, but the ones that they counted. I mean, do they have to be more physical? I mean, they just won a game in 5 series. Did they need to be more physical in this one? I don't think so. Now, do they need to, again, if it's Vancouver, let's say, and look what Nashville's doing right now with like Quinn Hughes, where he's taken a beating already. And do you want to kind of have the same treatment with the Drew Doughty, where you don't want to put yourself out of position by just running around and looking for hits, but when they present themselves to be physical and finish, which is what I thought they did. Like they didn't take themselves out of position to be physical, and that's what I would be afraid of saying, well, they just need to be more physical. It's like, well, are you going to run out of position, or would you rather have them take the hits when they're there and make sure that they're in good position to get back and support, which is what I thought they did.
Hit volume like tonight was 57-27 in favor of LA officially.
Yeah, but
on
when
the game
also
it seemed like LA got more physical as the series went on, and that was maybe their adjustment. I don't know, Cassian.
Well, they're trying to say we have to slow them down, and we're going to do it by being physical. The one thing with hit numbers, Tommy, can you get hits when you have the puck? Nope.
No. The answer is no.
The answer is no. So sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it's a skewed stat, and that it's like, oh, they were so physical. It's like, well, yeah, they were so physical because Edmonton had the puck and was controlling the play more. Now, I don't necessarily think that was that's not the story of the game tonight. It wasn't like Edmonton crushed them possession wise. But yeah, I mean, if you want to say adjustment from LA to say, hey, we need to be really physical on these guys, that was one. To jump back to that text, because there's 4 parts to that. Firstly, the Ekholm Arvidsson, that was fun, and Arvidsson's a fun player to watch, man. For a little guy, he is a really good player. But fun little battle, knowing that they're 2 guys that are friends and teammate or old teammates. That was a fun battle to watch. Thankfully, we ended up on the good side where we won.
If Arvidsson could stay healthy, Cass, like he's a very, very good player.
Oh yeah, really good.
He's 2 back surgeries. I think his knee was banged up one of the years in the past couple seasons where the Oilers were playing against the Kings. So it was fun to watch them battle, and the fact that he went up against his fellow Viking was interesting. And then he cut Ekholm's eye too. So
from that hit,
Dirty Curdy. He is a little guy. Dirty Curdy says, white knuckling to the end, but a closeout in 5 is huge. Slayed the Queens, PP dominant. Gonna need to improve the 5-on-5 next round. LFG, play La Bamba with extreme prejudice. Dirty Curdy. There's a lot of people saying that the 5-on-5 needs to get better. And I know we've kind of touched on it. Does it really? Because I think this is something that's going to be discussed.
Yeah.
Going into
you want to generate more 5-on-5, Tommy. Right. You do want to generate more 5-on-5, but with LA, it was like, okay, we generate enough, we have control the puck enough that we're taking penalties, and they can't stop us in the power play. I mean, that's not a bad game plan. Now again, it worked. They won in 5 because of their power play. Now 5-on-5 throughout the playoffs. Do you want to see more production? Yeah, of course you do. Of course you do. That's against a stifling team. We already talked about LA and finishing where they finished goals against during the season and their penalty kill during the season.
Yes, second.
So do I think there's more opportunity 5-on-5 against Nashville or Vancouver? I think so. Now, if it were to continue to where they still just couldn't get any kind of momentum 5-on-5, well, then I'd say, yeah, okay, we gotta look at this here. But that's only if the power play dries up, right? Like if the power play's humming, which clearly didn't happen. Now, I don't think it would be fair to have us expect that their power play is like 50% throughout all of the playoffs. Like that's right. It's pretty stinking high. I guess it would have finished just at 1 or 2 under penalty kills under. So it's like 45 or 46%.
And 2 goals, 2 that they scored tonight were technically 5-on-5, but it was right at the end of a power play.
They were power play goals,
essentially. Here's an interesting one: 780-218-9999. Text us your thoughts, observations, what you want to know going forward into the next round for the Oilers. Cass will answer them, bounce them off of him. Or if you have anything for myself or YouTube, Trev, by all means, let us know. Nasty chat. Looks like I took a peek in there again. It is moving along and enjoying a nice little night. Well done, Nasty chat. I see a lot of people saying, we want Nashville. We want Nashville. I mean, we saw Toronto try to pick its opponent. They wanted Florida, kind of blew up in their face. So I'm just saying.
No, you get who you say. There's a kid's book that we read to our kids. I guess we still read it to my youngest. But there's a line in the book that says, you get what you get and you don't get upset. And it's about dinner and kids eating their dinner. But it's kind of the same thing. It's like, who cares? Like, who cares?
You face who you face.
You face who you face. I think the Oilers match up well against both teams, and there's different challenges with both teams. I mean, Nashville, they play very hard. They got one line that can kill you, and it's like, okay, well, if you shut down that line, you give yourself a pretty good chance. Vancouver, they play a high pressure game. Very Rick Tocchet, straight lines, aggressive. Pettersson has been really quiet. Some of their offensive guys maybe a little bit more quiet than they would like so far this series. But then you have goaltending, where Demko probably not going to be a net. So, I think either team, especially if that series goes really long, Edmonton matches well up against them. Yeah. And both are going to be a battle. So I don't know. I'm not.
You get who you get.
You get who you get. There's part of me that kind of wants it to be Vancouver because it'd be fun, like a Canadian series. I know we'd have a couple of our reoccurring Vancouver trolls that would show up in the nasty chat, which would kind of be fun. But ultimately, Tom, you get who you get. You're not worrying about it right now. Right now, at least tonight, you're giving yourself a pat on the back. You're taking a day off tomorrow. Yep. And you're starting to just get yourself physically and mentally ready for whoever you face.
Yeah, the Oilers earned a couple of extra days of rest. We'll see what happens in that Vancouver-Nashville series. The next game goes on Friday as the Preds look to claw their way back into it. They're down 3-2 going back to Nashville. All right, portions of this hour brought to you by 100.3 The Bear, Edmonton's best rock. Listen to Dusty every morning during the week with Yuke and McCord, and then tune in to Jess Jackson on your drive home from work every afternoon. This question I like. It comes in, no name on the text, but it says, how do you prepare for your next series when you don't know your opponent yet? Cass.
Well, you'll start talking about both of the teams. Now you have, because they don't play tomorrow. They play the day after. Is that correct?
They play Friday. Yeah.
Friday. Yeah. Been a long week.
And if it goes 7, you're assuming it's Monday or Sunday, right?
You think Sunday. So
Vancouver, probably.
Yeah, so you might be playing Sunday, depending, if it's Vancouver. Probably Tuesday, if you don't know if it goes to 7.
Right.
So you have time either way to prepare and to look at both teams. But I think the Oilers are probably going to approach this how they've approached most of the season, in that it's just like, well, we're not going to necessarily overly worry about that. We're just going to worry about us and about being crisp in practice, about resting up, getting guys that are banged up, healthy, recovered, and just staying sharp. There will be time to go through, and you probably will start looking at both the teams. Now that's going to be more on the technical standpoint, not necessarily even 5-on-5, but more like special teams. You're going to start to review that with your groups. Yep. And go through that, because that you can take your time and look at both and saying, okay, with Nashville, this is what we get. With Vancouver, this is what we get. And then for the specifics, like you'll still have time. I mean, I don't think.
I'm assuming the coaching staff and maybe some of the scouting staff are already looking. They're doing advanced scouting and watching these series.
They already have scouts there.
Yeah.
They would have had scouts there the whole series. And for a coaching staff standpoint, I mean, they're going to put a lot more work into that preparation than they present to the players initially, because they're going to want to wait to see who it is. But they're going to have kind of their two separate, okay, this is how we prepare for Vancouver. This is how we prepare for Nashville. And when the time comes and when that's when they're going to put, the meat of the game plan in. Again, special teams will probably start to prepare both ways, and they'll start to look for little tweaks. But I wouldn't. I wouldn't worry about it. Like Vancouver and Nashville aren't right now going to be like, oh, let's prepare for Edmonton. They got to worry about winning their series. So you're kind of on the same foot with that. Edmonton's just going to have a little bit more time to rest and recover.
Another thing that kind of has popped up here and there is the officiating. Edmonton gets 5 power plays and just the 1 penalty kill tonight. JCD 780 says refs definitely helped the Oilers in the series. What would you say to that? I mean, I'm like, the calls in game 4 were both bad. The 2 penalties that were called tonight. I don't know. Like, the Kings took penalties.
Some of them were penalties. I mean, you could argue on the one diving call on I think that was Fiala, but I mean, he got him in the hands. He did go down kind of easy. The officiating wasn't great. It wasn't great, no. And it probably skewed a little bit towards Edmonton, where I think Edmonton got the better of it.
Sure.
I would understand if LA Kings fans are frustrated with it.
Well, Jim Hiller was losing his mind all night.
He was losing it. Yeah.
All right, 780-218-9999. Kevin from the Bergman Hood says, morning. Is EST allowed in the dressing room for interviews? Yes, we just don't have anybody there. I'm always in the room, Kevin, from the Bergman Hood. But when I'm doing the pre and post game show, I clearly cannot be in the locker room and doing the pre and post game show. So yes, we have full access like any other station, just like we did at 1260. Ryan from Sask says Oilers neutral zone and D zone play were outstanding in the third. Backtracking forward forced the puck to the outside. They stayed disciplined through the middle of the ice off the rush. Really patient and mature team effort. Leon was an animal all night. Look forward to round 2. Ryan from Sask. This one says Stars stepped up big tonight. Bouchard should be recognized as a guy who steps up in the playoffs. 26-16 on ice, +2, 3 assists. Boys are firing on all cylinders. That's from AV. Evan Bouchard is very good in the postseason, as AV points out, but his starts to seasons, Cass, are a bit suspect. Why is that?
This whole season was suspect. The whole team was suspect at the start of the season. Bouchard played very well that series. Very well that series. And I don't know if it's a mental thing where it's just like, okay, I got to lock it down. I think there was only one play tonight, and it was in the corner when you wanted to make a hard play, and he kind of made a soft play and ended up turning it over. But he, for the most part, and granted, I won't say just in the playoffs, but leading into the playoffs, like how many times did we have to talk about Evan Bouchard and his 5 bell mistakes the last month and a half of the season?
Rarely.
We didn't.
Yeah. Early we did in the season.
For some players, start of the season, it's like, well, yeah, you've been practicing and it takes some time to get into it. Now, for him and for the team as a whole, I don't necessarily think it was that. They just sucked for a while.
5 weeks.
Yeah, and we thought the season was over, you and I both. And boy, were we wrong. Were we wrong. But yeah, Evan Bouchard, solid this playoffs. I think this was Leon's best game in the series, this one, tonight. I don't know if just to kind of jump on that text a little bit. He was a beast tonight.
Yeah, he was. Absolutely, he was. Let's go to Garrett from Victoria. Says this group looks poised and understands what they need to do to win and win. Making this a quick series was a big step. Which matchup is best for the Oilers in the next round? That's from Garrett in Victoria. Cass, what would you say? Although you and I have said you get who you get, but when you stack up both teams, what would you tell Garrett in Victoria?
I think Nashville's an easier out because I think if you shut down one line, you win. But they have the goaltending wild card in Soros. So I think you probably stack up slightly. And you have, Leon and how some of the players like playing against Nashville and just seem to have a ton of success. So I would lean slightly, I would say more advantage playing Nashville than playing Vancouver. But again, like I said, you get who you get and you don't get upset.
Yeah. If you look at Edmonton and Vancouver potentially, because that could be something that we see, Edmonton did get swept in the season series, 4-0. 3 of those 4 happened in the first 11 games of the year, where, as Cass alluded to, Edmonton was absolutely atrocious to start the season. And then late in the season, they lost that game to the Canucks as well. Van injury issues in goal is certainly an issue. They're down to Arturs Shilovs in net. Casey DeSmith and Thatcher Demko both banged up, but there's still some hockey to be played in that series. And like Cass said, you get who you get.
Yeah. And just a point, go ahead, Tommy, just a quick point. Sorry to interrupt, but a quick point on, being swept in the season series didn't help Winnipeg.
Exactly. So, good point.
Does it matter? Yeah. But no. So I don't know.
Cass, Winnipeg stomped Colorado 7-0 in the last, I think it was the 3rd or 4th last game of the year.
Yeah.
Just pumped them.
Well, they pumped them, I think, most of the games. They pumped them pretty good. Like, they were all pretty handily wins, whatever. They won very easily.
They handled them very well. 780-218-9999. Ontario Mom says, boys, I love how the refs smelled that fromage from the Kings. They've been diving all series. The refs said, no, sir. Finally, Joaquin Gage was talking about that in our group text. He says, what, you don't think the refs talk to each other about who's out there diving? And, yeah, that's a good point by Gager. That's a good point. This text says, I'm not worried about the 5-on-5. They took what the Kings gave them, which was a power play buffet. Yeah, and Oilers feasted on that for sure. RBM says, boys, I absolutely hated their first half. Hated it. To follow up that game 4 with that. Pretty frustrating. I actually had to step away after the Kings went up 2-1 because I was so frustrated and baffled how they were following up game 4. However, LOL, I will give them credit for getting their crap together. Got some big-time breaks for sure, but they took advantage and got the job done, so good for them. If I was a Kings fan, I'd be furious too. How the hell that was embellishment is beyond me. I saw Arvidsson telling someone to after the game was over. I'm guessing that was to the refs.
Yep, I think that's who it was. Yep.
RBM clearly very agitated by the Oilers in the first half of the game. They weren't sharp, Cass, but I didn't think they were bad or anything like that, to the point where, if I was a fan, I'd be walking away. I would just be like, come on, just sharpen it up. And they did, to their credit.
Yep, they did.
Yeah. You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I just need another sip of tea
there. All right, let's go back to the text line. Unless you want to jump on that from RBM.
No, I mean they weren't sloppy at the start of the game. LA pressed, and you knew they were going to. You knew they were going to play physical, and we talked again. One of the game changers before the game that I brought up was playing that patient game, and they did. Where it's like, yeah, it could take all game, but we will get our chance at some point, and let's just be patient with it. So yeah, I don't want to say they worked their way into that one, but they did finish better than they started, and they weren't bad off the start. They just weren't great.
Yep. All right. Cast a few more, and then we'll get to some clips when they're available, as well as we've got to get to the big save of the game and the player of the game. The Oilers defeating the LA Kings 4-3 in Game 5 and advance to the second round of the postseason for a third consecutive year. Let's see what's going on in the text line. Andrew in London, Ontario, says, Night Kings. I have to say I loved Vinny's game. How hard he was on pucks and making solid defensive plays all night. Took care of business, Tommy. LA suffering the same fate as the Jets in the 80s. London Knights 7, Saginaw 2. Knights lead 3-1. Game 5 here in London Friday. I'll be there. Bud Gardens will be rocking. Go Knights, go. Andrew in London, Ontario. Okay, some of your unsung heroes in this series, Cass. Who would you list off? Like 2 or 3, maybe.
Yeah, let's start with actually that one with Vinny Desharnais, who I thought had an incredibly strong series.
Yeah.
Not that I was worried or freaking out, but one of the questions I had going into it was when the playoff hockey ramps up and the speed picks up, how is Vinny Desharnais going to do? And he was fine. Yeah, he was fine. He played very well, very steady, didn't make big mistakes, didn't look slow, didn't look out of position. Like he had a solid series. And that's a testament to the amount of work that he did this season to continue to improve and to be effective. So we got to give one to him. I'm going to throw another unsung hero out there, and I'm going to go with Matthias Janmark. Just as an anchor on the power or penalty kill. I mean, your penalty kill, and really you could list off all the guys that penalty kill because you had a series. You absolutely had a series. I mean, you didn't give up any power play goals against. Your penalty kill was fantastic. So those guys all need a pat in the back. So, one that completely unsung, I think, would be Matthias Janmark. One maybe a little bit sung, but not overly sung. Would be a guy that I didn't think was playing to start the playoffs. Can you guess who I'm going to go with here?
One Dylan Bartholomew Holloway. Who had a really solid series as well. Playing not up and down, but playing on the third line, and he was really good. Even today, again, a couple really nice plays, carrying the puck, gaining zone entry, and creating some opportunity off of it. I thought there's another guy. I mean, you could name a few, but I'll stick with those 3. How did Evander Kane handle his athletic pubalgia, in your opinion, as someone who knows how to deal with athletic pubalgia?
I didn't deal with it very well, but hey, he was physical. He was around the net, scored some big goals, and I mean, I wanted to pick players less obvious, I guess, maybe than him. If I'm looking at unsung heroes,
fair enough. I thought you made some great choices.
Yeah, but he had a solid series too. Really good. Perry had a really good series outside of game 2. That was outside
game
of game
2.
2.
Yeah,
that was
tough game 2.
Yeah, tough game 2, but he had a good series outside of that. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't anyone that had a bad series, but yeah.
Cass, the Oilers now get a little bit of downtime. What do they do? How do they prepare? If you're a player and you get to enjoy the spoils of victory for a night, what's the game plan going forward for the next few days?
Well, they're probably going to go celebrate a little bit tonight, sleep in tomorrow, have a day off, enjoy it at home, not having to fly, not having to travel, being with your family if you got a family. And then you're gonna get back to business, Tom. It's just gonna be okay. We just need to be as crisp as possible. Practices are still gonna be short; they're not gonna be long. You're just mentally gonna be like, okay, get me there and keep me crisp. And then physically, you're just gonna be in recovery mode. So there's gonna be a lot of cold tubs, a lot of hot tubs, a lot of treatment. The massage therapists are gonna be busy. It's just going to be taking care of the bumps and bruises and taking advantage of the extra days you have.
We'll see how much rest the Oilers get as the Canucks take on the Predators on Friday, game number 6 in that series. The Oilers now await the winner of that series. Cass, fantastic work as always, my friend. You get some rest, and I'll catch up with you on Friday, maybe? I don't know.
Maybe?
In the next few days.
Maybe Sunday?
Friday, because we're going to be at the Hockey Helps the Homeless.
Oh, yeah, well, I'll catch up with you then. Yeah.
And every show is on location.
Yep, which will be awesome. Yeah, I'll be kicking around.
Excellent.
A lot of toe drags. A lot of toe drags.
But none from Belzy.
None from Belzy. No, yeah. Belzy worked really hard, though. So he's still fast. That guy, fast. He's so fast. I mean,
I know.
Yeah, still.
I know.
Yeah, just a machine.
All right, pal. Great work, and I'll see you on Friday.
Sounds good.
There's our game analyst, Matt Kassian, breaking down the Oilers' 4-3 win in Game 5. They are off to the second round for a third consecutive season. Keep those texts coming in, 780-218-9999. Get YouTube Trev on here. Let's see YouTube Trev. How you doing over there, pal? Back at ESTHQ. What do you think? We haven't heard from you yet in the show. You're excited. You liked what you saw. Give us your breakdown.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first game that I was actually pretty nervous watching, but they did it. I'm genuinely super impressed and surprised by the performance tonight. I'm kind of lost for words. Like the Oilers, and I said this like when you headed off to Rogers Place to watch the game. I was talking about it like this. If they win tonight, it's going to separate them from last year's team. Like it's a statement win. It really is, because they always seem to make things interesting. When we were talking, like the Oilers, when we gave the preview of this series, we were saying, well, the Oilers could potentially, they do have the star power to sweep the Los Angeles Kings. They could go 4-0. But that's not really in their DNA. They lack that, or they have in the past, they've lacked that killer instinct, and they always have made things interesting. To start the season, they were, it was Cup favorites. All the analysts, everyone, all the pros, that's what they were saying. They were pegged heavily as Cup favorites. And what happened? They came in, it was like the second worst start to franchise history. So tonight, I was blown away. I think they were weathering the storm. It's tough to score 5-on-5 against the Los Angeles Kings with the system that they do that is implemented for the Kings. So I'm not too bothered by that. And you saw in the last 10 minutes of the game, when the Kings were really, really bringing it, they were starting to put that pressure on, and that led to I think that was the most odd man rushes we had seen. It was 2-on-1, 2-on-1. I think they had 3, and that was more than we had seen for sure in the previous 4 games. So it was impressive. I'm not worried about the 5-on-5. That's going to come, and they adjust to teams. I think whether it's Vancouver or Nashville, it's going to be a totally different gameplay. But I'm not worried about that. The power play was just lethal. It was crazy, and you watch power plays around the NHL, and most teams are just so quick with the puck. It's like pass. You watch Tampa, you watch Colorado, some of the best power plays in the league. They just
Vancouver's quick.
Vancouver, yeah, they just whip that puck around. But man, it's so interesting how they just it's like when McDavid has like the puck on his stick, like he's kind of just going through the plays and he really slows it down, and it's insane how effective that is. And the plays that they've been just whipping out, like there was like a 20-second stint where there was like 3 grade A shots. It was just like, it was incredible to watch. So yeah, like I'm pretty impressed with their performance tonight. All throughout the lineup, I think everyone really showed up. Draisaitl, heck of a night. Kane, there's really no complaints coming from me. I'm pretty pumped. Like the fact that we're actually talking about the Oilers being the Kings in 5 is something I never thought was going to happen, and here we are. So this is great. I'm pretty pumped, and the Nasties are obviously pretty pumped. How can you not be pumped? Like this is I was scared. 3 years in a row you're going against the same team, and I honestly thought the Kings were going to bring it, and they did bring it. They were the more physical team, and like the Oilers, they found ways to win, and more ways, not just the high scoring offense. They played this team knows how to play defense, Tommy. They really do, and that was on full display the last 2 games, really. So wow, I'm pretty pumped. It was awesome. On to the second round they go, and it's pretty exciting.
Nicely done, Trev. Very excited. You had that all bottled up and you let it go. Well done, pal.
Thanks, buddy.
Let's go to the nasty chat. Chief Andy says, I'm in my hot tub as we speak. The boys need the same. Mojo invited Cass to a Leafs chat tomorrow. I don't think Cass is going to take you up on that one, Mojo. And then Brandon Patricio says, YTT in YEG, we need you to take your shirt off. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that, Trev. We don't want to see that.
I'm not going to do that.
Please don't do that. Thank God. Okay, let's go inside the Oilers locker room after they win it 4-3 tonight. Who are we going to hear from first, Trev?
Yeah, I thought he was pretty steady all series long. Let's go to number 25, Darnell Nurse.
About the way your team was able to win this series, maybe bigger picture here.
Yeah, obviously special teams. I think PP and PK were very good throughout the series. We won a variety of different ways. We were down in games and found ways to come back. Had to check our way to wins. We were able to score enough goals to win in one game. So for us, it's important to take some of the lessons. I think that obviously the Kings were a really good team, and this is a hard-fought series. No matter how many games we won, it was very hard-fought, and I think there's a mutual respect, I think, between teams, and probably a mutual dislike too. So it was a hard-fought series, and we take it and get our rest and get ready for the next one.
Took one penalty tonight, one penalty the other night, so discipline part of that as well. Like you guys, you weren't in the box very much.
Yeah, no, I think it's especially at this time of the year, teams that are playing against their power plays are so lethal, and their top players, the more power play touches that they get, the better they're going to feel throughout the game. So I think our discipline was a huge factor, especially in these last 2 games, and that's just got to continue here for us to have success.
Darnell, can you talk about, everybody knows about Leon's offense, but just kind of his two-way play, back check and defensive play, face-offs, D-zone, just kind of what you liked about his non-offensive game.
Yeah, I mean, he made so many, numerous defensive plays, whether it was, like you said, back checking, just being in the right spots in the D-zone and picking off passes, or being first to lose pucks. He's on the right side of the puck, all game long. So he was a horse for us. Really led by example how to play a 2-way game, and he was huge in the series.
Maybe as complete a first-round series as you guys have had since you've been in. You notice the evolution of this team in the playoffs as the years go on.
Yeah, I think there's obviously a level of comfort just having been through this a few times. I think it also, that comes to the calm within our game, and being able to weather different storms, and it was a good sign of what's to come. But there's still so much hockey that we're hoping to play here throughout the rest of the season, or the rest of the spring here. So for us, it's important to keep picking it up.
They're always going to be in a long playoff run. You've got to get one series that ends quickly. You can't all be 7-game series, or all of a sudden those games stack up.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know. I'm not sure the history of the league and the teams that have won in their series. Well, there you go. So I think when you get into this situation as a team and players, and it doesn't matter how long series go, you gotta revamp, rest up, and get ready for the next one. So you just take it a day at a time.
Brown, just to follow up on Rob's question, there were a lot of weird bounces in the series, a couple of very obvious one tonight, but did you feel like you're still always in control regardless of those? How were people?
Yeah, I think we weathered them really well. Obviously, over the when you're playing a game or playing a team, over 4 or plus games, there's going to be bounces and whatnot that go on. It's how can you stay calm and just play through it, and those are things you can't control. We controlled what we could control this whole series, and that's I think for us, just staying in the moment and playing those, playing after those bounces, that was a good sign for our team.
All right, there's Darnell Nurse tonight. Let's see Nurse's stat line. Trev says he was pretty steady in the series. I agree. Was he perfect? No. Did he make some mistakes like he tends to do? Yes. Nurse finished the night -2 with 1 shot and 1 shot, no hits, 1952 time on ice. So not a particularly great stat line for Darnell Nurse tonight in the playoffs. What did Nurse have? He had a few points heading into action tonight. Nurse, 1 assist, +1. Now he's -1 with no penalty minutes. So Darnell Nurse. There you go. Looking to build off of an okay round 1. Let's go back inside the Oilers locker room, and we're going to go to Connor McDavid this time.
What your team was able to accomplish in this series, the way you were able to win it?
A lot of things. Obviously, the special teams were great. I thought I saw a lot of composure, closing games out. I know they get one late there, but I thought that was a great third period. Maturity, a lot of good signs.
Very calm, your team. Just there was times when you could have been not calm. I thought you guys kept it cool pretty well in all the different situations throughout.
I thought there was lots of different situations, as you mentioned. I thought, you think about the series. Obviously, we get off to a good start. Kind of give momentum away, but we're able to get it back. I think that shows, some growth. I think for us also, finding a way to stack some games. Get it to 3-1 and finish off the series in Game 5. I think that's a big step for our group. Like I said, a lot of good signs, but it's only one series.
Go ahead. You kind of touched on it already, but can you kind of talk about the response you guys had in the second period after getting down 2-1?
Yeah, I didn't love our first half of the game. I thought we were a little bit. Slow. I thought, for whatever reason. But I thought we had a great response. We found ways to draw penalties. I think they weren't very happy with some of the calls, but I think they're all penalties. All the way sticks in 2 on a backdoor play. Leo's getting dragged down. They're penalties, and we found a way to capitalize, and then we found a way to close it out. All good things.
It seemed everybody had a role to play here. Like the depth that you guys have right now. Ryan, for example, wasn't even in the lineup to start. He makes a massive play in the last minute of this game.
Yeah, massive. Yeah, we got lots of depth. Even the guys that didn't play in the series are more than capable of stepping up and stepping into big roles and important assignments. So we got lots of depth. That's a good sign.
We know you sat out the last week. How important is it, these days of rest for you at this time? Looking at the schedule, might be up, 5-6 days potentially.
Yeah, rest is always a good thing. I think rest is a weapon at this time of year, and that being said, we got to make sure that we're ready to roll. Practice hard against each other. Make sure we're ready to go. And there's no change in our game.
Connor, the games are only going to get tighter as the playoffs continue. Can you maybe talk about the confidence that's instilled in this group when you guys display different ways of winning hockey games?
Yeah, two games where we close it out real solid, calmly.
All right, there's Connor McDavid. He went on for another few minutes. You get the gist of it there. So they're going to practice hard for a few days, obviously enjoy the win, and get a day off. I'm assuming tomorrow. Let me just double check. There's no plan. They haven't indicated yet if they're going to go tomorrow or not. It might be a day off. We're waiting word from the Oilers PR team, Jamie Cartmel and Andrew Peard. A text comes in from Vitamin D, says the Oilers power play played so hard that the Kings penalty kill needed to have a safe word. Oh, well played, Vitamin D. Mike from Calgary says, bring on, yup, it's the Nucks. Well, we'll see. Barry the Cheater says, I'm doing okay. I think Ken Holland put a pretty decent team together. All you critical armchair GMs at the deadline, zip it. Brad from Crossfield says, reflecting back to November, did you guys ever think the Oilers would be here in May? No. I wrote the Oilers off on November 9th after they lost 3-2 in San Jose and looked like absolute dog. And they totally redeemed themselves. All right. We're going to go back inside the Oilers locker room one more time. Let's hear from netminder Stuart Skinner.
Yeah, obviously tough. I think just the timing was really hard just because, there wasn't much time left in the first period after that. So we were able to sit on it for a bit, but I think our response was absolutely massive. Again, getting bounces like that, it's just kind of, it happens. Can't do too much about it once it does, and it's about how you respond. And I think as a group we did a really good job.
They eventually, they pushed back late in that period, but can you just maybe describe the first 13 minutes or so of that period, the way your group played? Maybe expecting a huge push from them, but you guys just kind of weren't having it.
Yeah, that's just a huge credit to the guys in front of me. I think even when they did get a little bit of time zone, we were just blocking absolutely every shot and being able to get pucks out and then getting on the rush, getting on the forecheck and, hem them down in the zone. And I think that was a big key tonight is our first 10 minutes.
It's rare to shut out a team on the power play throughout a series. And what did you see on the penalty kill that was so successful?
Yeah, you got to give a lot of credit to LA. They're changing things up and giving us a really hard time. I just think as a group we were just so connected. I think we had a lot of good chemistry going on in this series where we were just kind of flowing in the right spots at the right times because we've gotten a lot of practice doing it. So it's been it was really good and obviously really nice to see. It's a lot of confidence for our group. And again, when it counted, we got some unbelievable, massive blocks. So that's a huge credit to the guys in front of me. Even tonight, even the last game on the PK, I haven't gotten too many shots. So, that's all the guys in front of me.
And when you're at the other end of the ice and then you see the Oilers power play come on the ice, you're probably thinking, okay, we just killed theirs. Our power play's so good.
Yeah.
You can stand back and watch it.
Yeah, I think that was a big key to this series. Obviously you can see with the numbers, but power play and PK was crucial for winning the series.
To be able to finish the series tonight and get at least a few days off, how valuable is that to the team?
Yeah, I think it's huge. Obviously, being able to win 5 games, just like what you said, get a little bit of rest, and when we find out, we're able to prepare for the next team that we get to play in round 2. And I think that is really big. It's also big because LA's 3.5, sometimes 4-hour flight, so it's good in that sense as well.
You had a goal like that going in this building off the glass?
In this building, I'm sure I have.
It happens in a basketball building like in LA where they're changing it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely happened to me many times in my career, but just again tough timing and stuff happens.
All right, there's Stu Skinner, who finishes up the series with a .259 goals against average, .910 save percentage, faced 145 shots, 13 goals against, did pick up a shutout in Game 4, played every minute of the series for the Oil. Good for him, playing well, playing confident. Weird bounce on that first one that LaFerriere scored. Nothing he can do about that. I know some people said, stay in your net. Who knew that it was going to take that kind of ricochet? Neil from Nanaimo texting in says, is LA wishing they had a time machine to go back and not make the trade for PLD? Neil from Nanaimo, I'm assuming yes. And then giving him that huge contract. No bueno. No bueno. All right, let's get to the big save of the game, presented by Christopher Boyle, business owner, tax saver. Take care of your family with Christopher Boyle, an experienced advisor with over 17 years under his belt. Safeguard yourself and your family with comprehensive coverage for tax-free benefits during hospitalization and or a fracture or broken bone. You'll get benefits paid from day one of the incident, so you don't have to worry about the costs and loss of income due to hospitalization. Preserve your income and protect your paycheck by visiting www.christopherboyle.com. postgame.net. And the big save of the game, YouTube, Trev, which one is it?
Thank you for that, Tommy. Well, it was going to be obviously big save, Dave, but it actually ended up not being a big save. No. So Stuart Skinner, there's one play in particular, and like I got to start keeping these notes, but it was in the last period, third period. There's 12 minutes left. Adrian Kempe. I mean, that's one player you certainly don't want to give any space to. He's an
Oiler killer.
Yeah, he's an Oiler killer. He's got he's got the most lethal shot for sure for the Los Angeles Kings. It was a huge blocker save. It was huge. It was crunch time as well. So it was a timely save, high slot. He had all the time in the world. The Oilers gave him quite a bit of time, and Stuart Skinner came up with a very clutch, very big save. He made it look easy, and who knows? Like that could have been a game changer, right? As well. So it was a really sound, good save, and he came up clutch with that one. So Stuart Skinner with a big save on Adrian Kempe. 12 minutes left in the third. That is your save of the game.
Brought to you by Christopher Boyle. Visit ChristopherBoyle.net. And well done, Trev. That was excellent. Buddy. Preserve your income and protect your paycheck by visiting www.ChristopherBoyle.net. I like the new liner. It is snazzy. All right, we are going to go back to Rogers Place really quickly. We do have one more. I think it was a podium interview, right, Trev?
Yes, we have Leon Draisaitl and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
All right, let's listen to a minute or two of that, and then we'll bounce back out of there.
Sounds good.
We know about your offensive attributes, but your defensive game, back check, face-offs in this series, maybe just as impressive. Can you maybe talk about your complete game and just kind of maybe a reflection of your whole team being better overall defensively this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think over the years, you just learn that those things sometimes are more important in playoff hockey than scoring on the power play or whatever it may be. I take big pride in defending. Sometimes it gets away from me a little bit maybe, but when it matters most, I enjoy it, and I think our whole group as a whole has done a really, really good job of defending and doing it the right way, and obviously, we're going to score enough. It's about keeping the puck out of our net.
You're on both the penalty kill and the power play. Both were very impressive. Which one are you most proud of in this series, the PK or the power play?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. Definitely both. Obviously, you can't, our power play gets a lot of momentum from creating, having success, and I know it works both ways. So to be able to sniff that out and have our PK rolling like it did in this series, it definitely is something that we're all proud of. We can still keep pushing, and obviously whoever's next is going to be a new challenge. So we look forward to that. But yeah, I mean, it's fun to be on both sides of it for sure. Special teams, I think, throughout the whole season play such a big part of any game. But I mean, when it comes down to playoffs, it can be the difference maker. So I think special teams was huge for us this series, and we just want to keep building on that.
Leon, you guys eliminated LA in 7 games in 2022, 6 games last year. Now it's 5 games. What was different this time around? What made you guys end this series a lot quicker?
I don't know. I think we're probably a better team this year than we were last year or the year before. We're more mature, which plays a big part sometimes. But that's a really good team over there. They make it hard on you. It's an absolute grind against them every night, and hats off to the way that they compete and play the game. But that being said, obviously, we did a really good job of getting our minds ready for that and just mentally being ready for the challenge.
Ryan.
All right, there was Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Leon Draisaitl. Good answer there from Draisaitl in regard to the LA Kings and the Oilers getting it done in 5 games. Let's quickly go to the inbox. I saw this one from Greg in Lacombe. It says, being done in 5 is likely going to yield much better production results at work for at least Friday and next Monday. Greg from Lacombe. I think that says a lot about a lot of companies around northern Alberta. Absolutely. Some work will get done. Maybe not so much tomorrow, but Friday and Monday, very productive. And then perhaps if game one goes Monday or Tuesday, things dip down a little bit, but a little time to regroup. But this text says, I'm old enough to remember when people took offense to Leon not reacting to scoring a regular season goal. How about his reaction to LA taking a penalty against him to ice his series? Yeah, he gave it the little pumpernickel. Saw that. Norman at Combine says, good evening, boys. Very good game. LA sure does know how to hem the Oilers in. They played excellent defense. Power play was excellent. Bring on Vancouver. Have a good night. Great show. Norm jumping to conclusions, thinking this series is done between the Canucks and the Preds. We shall see. Edmonton's power play wraps up the series 45%, PK 100%. Absolutely fantastic numbers, special teams wise. All right, YouTube, Trev, you ready for your next bit of business? It is the Oil Stream Postgame Show, brought to you by GCL Diesel, proud suppliers of genuine OE products from manufacturers like Bosch, Denso, Garrett, Borg Warner, and Holset. Let's get to the Damon Bunting Remax Elite Player of the Game. Damon Bunting, consistent top-producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Western Canadian Remax realtors. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Community-driven. He understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. Check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. YouTube, Trev, who is the Damon Bunting Remax Elite Player of the Game.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that, Tommy.
Oh, you're still wearing your shirt. Thank God.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's Brandon that keeps bothering you about that.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's not going to happen. But on to the Player of the Game.
Thank God.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there's two players in particular. It was either going to be Evan Bouchard or Leon Draisaitl. I thought Evan Bouchard had a hell of a series, but I think what won it for me tonight for Leon Draisaitl was his back checking, was his defensive play. He was the centerman out in the final minute there when it was crunch time. So then, to top it off, 2 goals. He was a +1, 24 minutes tonight. He was solid, and it just continues, like, his effort in the playoffs. Like, he's literally, I know he's played, I was just looking at it, he's played 55 or 54 games in the playoffs, so not the most, but, like, that is still a pretty good, that's still a decent amount of games in the postseason. And he's third all-time tied with only Connor McDavid, so tied with Connor McDavid for points per game in the playoffs, 1.60. Ahead of him, Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky. So, wow. He was great on both facets of the game tonight. His offensive prowess, obviously, we know how unbelievable he is. But the one thing that's talked about is his defensive game, and I think that's what I liked about him a lot in this series, but in particular tonight's game, Tommy. So, Leon Draisaitl, he is your Damon Bunting Player of the Game. Had to be Leon.
Very nicely done, Trev. Very nicely done. In the nasty chat, Dusty's going to bed. Good night, pal. Get your rest. You're going to be up early tomorrow. A lot of excited people on the Nielsen show. That's for show. JW Crawford via the nasty chat says, I miss Tommy's perm. That makes one of us, JW Crawford. We shall never forget, though. Did you see the perm last year, Trev? It was awful.
I did. I actually, I really liked it.
Stop it.
I wouldn't mind seeing that again, Tommy. I thought it looked really good.
Not a chance in hell. Never again.
Your hair is very versatile. You can do a lot with it. You can, slick it back. You're doing what you're doing right now. You got the perm. There's a lot you can do with your hair. And so, could that be a look? Time will tell.
Shut it. Yes, 1 year ago I had a perm, and it was for a good cause, MS Society of Edmonton, and I think we raised just over $12,000. So Gregor, it was Gregor's thing, and Terry Ryan, and yes, I do not miss it at all. All right, we're gonna leave the last word to X-Ray J, who texted in. X-Ray J said, the things I like most about tonight's win: the commitment of the team overall to defense. Then once the Kings forced their hand by going up 2-1, they turned up the intensity offensively while still maintaining good team D. Was hoping they'd keep that third one, but got the win. Now time to rest. Let's go Oilers, says X-Ray J, who's pumped up after the win. All right, Edmonton off to the second round. 4-1, they defeat the Kings. and they get the 4-3 victory in Game 5 to clinch it. They await the winner of the Canucks-Nashville series. That one, Game 6 on Friday. Can the Preds force Game 7? They're on home ice on Friday. We shall see. The Oilers get a little bit of extra time to rest and recoup. They're going to need it. That's going to do it for the GCL Diesel Oil Stream postgame show, live on location at Hudson's Bourbon Street at West Edmonton Mall. Huge thank you to the fine folks here. Adam, Colby, Jade, fantastic as always. Good vibe in the building. We will be on location when round 2 starts. We'll let you know where. And big thank you to everyone who tuned in, texted in. We love you. We appreciate you. For Matty Cassian and YouTube Trev, I'm Tom Gazzola saying, have yourselves a lovely night. Mix in a water. Get some rest. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Ciao, ciao.